Hello and welcome to another hard-hitting episode of the Will It Send Me to Hell podcast. My name's Dalton. Joining me today, like every day, we have...
Michael. What's hard-hitting about this one? We haven't even recorded it yet. You're like so confident that Shrek is going to be hard-hitting.
We've had hard-hitting episodes lately, man.
Yeah?
Every single hard-hitting episode.
True.
We had some things to say about that one.
True.
And I know you. And I know you're going to have some things to say about Shrek 1 and Shrek 2. You're going to blow my mind. You're going to be talking about Gnosticism. You're going to be talking about the Dungeons and Dragons craze of the 1980s because monsters and that sort of thing.
What a stretch.
That's what you do. So I know you're going to come prepared with big topics like that.
I don't know, dude. I don't know about that one.
If you're new to the show... The premise is we're going to be looking at media, any kind of media, and talking about the moral merits of it.
Our primary focus...
Or lack thereof.
Yeah, our primary focus is always on the morals from a Catholic perspective. There are some degrees there's some ways in which other things factor into that. Like there's the good, the true, and the beautiful, right?
Of course.
We're mostly focused on the good, but we cover the true and the beautiful. The beautiful we cover the least. But it's important.
It is important. Beauty is very, very important.
Yeah.
But
and I think
a regular critic could discuss that.
To some extent. Usually when we cover it, it's because it's in some way that a regular critic wouldn't.
Exactly.
But anyway, what are we covering today?
We're talking about Shrek 1 and Shrek 2, baby.
So just to be clear, not Shrek 3.
You mean Shrek the Third?
Not Shrek the Third. Mm-hmm. Not the fourth Shrek.
I believe that one is Shrek the Final Chapter.
Not the fifth Shrek.
Which is Shrek Forever After.
Not the spin-off
Not Puss in Boots. Yeah.
Nor the new upcoming Puss in Boots sequel.
No. I did not. I didn't get my advanced copy for that one yet.
Nor any of the 8 video games, like the racing game, the DS game, the party game.
What about the DVD extra for Shrek 2, the American Idol one, the Far, Far Away Idol?
I remember watching that as a kid. Nope, not talking about that.
No. It's a game. It's an interactive game.
I know.
Okay.
You're basically still watching it, but yeah, no, not that either.
Okay.
Just the
Shrek
movies. 1, 2001, and Shrek 2, 2004.
What about the Christmas special on ABC Family?
Nope.
What about the Ghost of Lord Farquaad, which is the Halloween special?
I didn't know that existed.
I think there's also more.
I do not think we've exhausted the list of Shrek media.
and now, why are we talking about Shrek?
As you can probably tell from the long list of Shrek media, Shrek has somehow, I'm embarrassed by this, somehow become a mainstay of American movie culture. It's become culturally important.
Especially for people our age.
Especially for Zoomers who watched it when they were in their formative years.
Yeah.
2001, 2004. Zoomer, the earliest year for a Zoomer is 96 or 97, depending on who you ask.
Depends on if you remember 9/11.
Depending on how good of a memory you have about 9/11. So that means Shrek comes out. Most Zoomers were 5 or 4 at oldest. Shrek 2 comes out. They were more like 8 or so.
Those are the oldest.
Of the oldest, yeah.
That whole period, that's your formative
And then
years.
younger Zoomers saw it a little later usually because they were still pumping out new movies.
Yeah.
So it continued long enough that it's become a very important cultural thing. So that's a good reason to look at it and say okay, all of us were formed, which is just a sad sentence I'm about to say. We were all somewhat formed by Shrek.
I've seen Shrek so many times.
I've seen Shrek, yeah.
Shrek 2 unlimited times.
Think about the fact that not only have you seen Shrek so many times, and me too, I've seen it dozens of times. And not only that, but you saw it when you were a child, so that was a much more significant percentage of your life that you spent watching Shrek. So we're asking the question, what does that mean?
Rewatching Shrek.
Yeah. So what does it mean that we were founded on Shrek? We built this city on Shrek.
I think, now one of the reasons why I really want to talk about Shrek, and why I think it's still significant, is I still see memes from Shrek.
That's true.
Especially Lord Farquaad.
It's up there with like SpongeBob,
Exactly.
the prequels, things that like even long after they've been relevant. Like the prequels were never good, and SpongeBob has long since stopped being good. Same with the Simpsons, another example.
Yeah.
But like they live on as memes because the people creating memes are mostly older to middle age to not middle age as in years, but middle birth sequence.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe just all Zoomers. Zoomers are the ones making memes, obviously, and they all watch Shrek and SpongeBob and Simpsons stuff like that. So it's important culturally for internet culture as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of layers to this episode.
Exactly. Yeah. You see, even just that onion joke is like if you're on the internet, you know that.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know.
It's part of the Shrek is part of the language of the internet.
I mean, yeah. Shrek would have just weird appearances, quote unquote, on just like random YouTube poops and just stuff like that.
Well, there's that big thing like 10 years ago now, the Shrek is love, Shrek is life thing. It's just a big resurgence where now Shrek is the big joke. Yeah. It's weird, and I don't know. Our generation is fucking weird. Like you just connect to weird stuff, and it just shows up everywhere. And it when you're a kid, he's like, yeah, you just unironically, completely, genuinely like Shrek, and then it gets flipped on its head completely, and then it's back to like, yeah, no, Shrek is good. Let's get memes back from it.
Yeah, it was like ironic Shrek liking, and now we're past that as well, to where Shrek is just not really in the limelight at all. It's just there's the undercurrent of Shrek.
Exactly.
Shrek is still here somewhere.
So it's for people. Look, these big brain guys, these modern day philosophers, they're really stooping to Shrek. Shrek stoops to you, my man.
Well, you got to realize, so some of the stuff we cover is not like widely consumed. Like Vatican Miracle Examiners is not really something like, even if it was like if it was amazing, like we said, it's like best thing we've ever watched, it'll send you right to heaven, then we can recommend it, and that's worthwhile. But then if it's bad, it's like, well, nobody watched it anyway. Whereas with Shrek, like if Shrek is bad, that's like a generation that has been let down morally because of Shrek.
Yeah.
So it's important.
Yeah. So you want to get into it?
Yeah, I mean, what did you think about Shrek and Shrek 2 rewatching it? I
think they're both actually excellent.
I could not disagree
you
more.
Hate them?
I
no. One of these episodes. Oh no.
I hated Shrek. Hated Shrek 2.
You hated both.
Oh, I think they're really bad. And this is keep in mind, I saw them a bunch as a kid. I did not dislike them as a kid.
Yeah.
I had fond memories, but going back and watching them, I hate them. And I came away from them like I was just like laying on the couch after watching the second one and just like, I'm in like a bad mood. Like I was like responding to people on Discord.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm being mean. Why am I being mean to these people? And it's like, it's because I fucking watched Shrek 2. I'm in a bad mood because of Shrek 2.
That's so surprising to me.
Oh, I hated them. And again, I didn't come into them thinking at all I was going to hate them. So it was like, I've got such fond memories of these movies. But from like the first few minutes of Shrek, it was like, oh no. Like I'm not.
Well, now I just want to know. What did you hate about him so much?
Okay, well, this goes into I guess this is part of the beauty part of it.
Okay, yeah.
These are ugly movies. And I mean that in like a lot of different ways. There are a lot of layers to that. Mm-hmm. That guy started his fucking weed whacker again.
We postponed recording a little bit.
This is like the fourth take of recording this because this guy keeps starting his weed whacker. He's been whacking weeds for like fucking an hour.
They could probably barely hear it. It's probably fine. We'll keep going.
Yeah, we'll keep going. But
we're recording in my garage.
Yeah. It's ugly in so many ways. First of all, the CG is way worse than I remember. Like it looks like bad.
I paused a couple parts just to bask in the PS2 graphics.
Especially the first one.
The second one. The second one looks a little better. Good. But yeah, there's parts where you pause and the background looks like a PS2 game.
Especially if you look at like the villagers moving, like the random people, it's like, oh, that does not.
The scene in the onion scene in the sunflower field.
Yeah,
Did you pause on that?
No.
Copy paste sunflowers. There's like 3 sunflowers, which like I get. This was made in 2001. This is a pretty early CGI movie. I can excuse a lot,
but
of
it
that.
still looks very bad.
I remember it looking good back in the day, but
I didn't even notice it back in the day.
It looks fucking weird.
It's
a weird looking movie.
It looks.
See,
here's the thing: Shrek spawned a lot of copycats of like CG, like sort of lowbrow comedy children's movies.
Okay.
And those
Shark Tale.
Those, when you watch them, we all know like those look terrible.
Yeah.
But then you go back and watch Shrek, and it's like, wait, this one looks just as bad. Like it's also, but you just don't think about
This
it.
is not as bad as Shark Tale.
Shark Tale's also DreamWorks, dude.
I know.
Okay.
They somehow got worse.
Okay, so at a basic level, it's ugly in that way. But then also, it's ugly like the writing and the comedy. Like there's two, ironically, this is going to come up a lot. There's 2 layers to the comedy. The top layer is what is made for the kids, because this is a kids movie.
Yeah.
And it's primarily like fart jokes, burping, like just the lowest of lowbrow. Lowbrow in a bad way too, because you could there are a lot of things that are lowbrow. Like this movie to begin with is based off of fairy tales, but is also like an anti-fairy tale, which is why he wipes his ass with a fairy tale at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like it's the relationship between a hero to an anti-hero. Shrek is the anti-hero to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like an anti-fairy tale. Fairy tales are lowbrow, like by definition, but they're good. You know what I mean? This is lowbrow in the worst way. And then the other layer of humor is like the wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Parents at home know what I'm talking about when I'm describing Farquaad's dick size 4 times in the movie.
When I was a kid, I thought they were referring to his height.
Well, I mean, sometimes
it was always just height.
But no, yeah, a lot of times it's his dick.
When he looks at the castle and says, "You think he's compensating for something?" I was like, "Oh, because he's
short."
Because he's short.
No, but there are other parts that are like way more on the nose than even him compensating for something. I can't remember in particular, but like they very heavily imply about his dick.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's what we're working with writing tier here. And it's like that also is very ugly. Right? And then I don't think also, we'll get into it more, I also don't think the themes have anything to say.
I think they do.
That is like really that good. I think it's quite bad. So I think on every layer, this movie is bad. Like there's this is another thing. So I don't think this movie's entertaining. I didn't like, is that guy hammering things now?
No, he's hammering.
But like, even if you thought this movie was entertaining, like, there's an opportunity cost to a movie. And it's not just that you could be watching a different movie. It's also that I think movies, just like putting yourself or your kid in front of a screen, is like melting their brain a little bit. So the movie, or whatever it is, video game, piece of media, has to make up for the brain rot that is inherent to that sort of work.
Watching.
Yeah. And I think not only does Shrek not do that, like not only does it justify its existence, it does not justify its existence. Also, watching the first movie especially, I came away thinking like, if I showed this to my kid, I would legitimately be worried that I made my kid dumber. Like, no joke. Like,
really?
This guy's hammering.
He's stop the hammering.
All right, yeah. So what we were saying before we were rudely interrupted, what I was saying, this movie sucks and it's not worth your time. I just don't feel like it does not justify its own existence.
I agree with certain points that you made.
Okay.
I think there's a way. There's some elements in this that I could see why it is bad. And I actually read this Guardian article. Why? But
Yeah, why do you subject yourself to that?
I was reading about Shrek, the 20th anniversary of Shrek, which, by the way, happy anniversary,
happy Shrekiversary.
The talking about why this movie is absolute garbage.
Oh, I should read this article.
You should. We can read it on the show if you want.
That's fine. I feel like I don't know. I feel like it might repeat a lot of what I think about it.
Not really, but I think the point that I agreed with the article, which was just a no fun article, was the anti-traditional stuff, like Fairytale
for sure.
suck.
He wipes his ass with a fairy tale at the beginning.
I get that.
Yeah.
And there's some lowbrow. Did you catch the joke about Lord Farquaad's name?
I don't remember. I remember there was something about it, but I don't remember.
I mean, the article I read said and can you believe the main character's villain, his name is Lord Farquaad? Can you believe it? So I had to do a lot of thinking. Do you think it's because it sounds like fuckwad?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
Yeah.
I never got that ever. And I'm like a grown-up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that one's as obvious as the other jokes.
Anyway, so that and the lowbrow humor is that's what I see is bad.
Right. Well, that's the movie.
No, not quite, because there's the beauty I get, the CGI I get. Mm-hmm. I'll excuse that for the time. Mm-hmm. I think they did pretty well with what they had. If you don't pause and really look, you're okay.
No.
Well, you can disagree. I
never paused, and it looked terrible the whole time.
I think they did okay with what they had. But what I was really surprised by was the wholesomeness. Well, what are you looking up? Michael just got a look on his face and grabbed his phone.
You know what movie came out 6 years before Shrek?
Toy Story.
Toy Story. CG movie 6 years prior.
Have you seen Toy Story recently?
It looks way better than Shrek.
I don't know if it looks way better than Shrek.
It looks so...
I don't know. Toy Story does not look that good.
What year did Toy Story 2 come out?
I don't know. Dude, don't hit me with these Toy Story facts. Look, it looks okay for the year.
No, it doesn't.
When did Toy Story 2 come out? Tell me.
1999.
Really?
So still 2 years before Shrek. Way better. Looks way better. And also you're implying, first of all, they're really bad at CG. Second of all, they didn't have to use CG. Right? Like, compare this to a Disney movie that's hand-drawn or something. It looks way worse than that. You know what I mean? Like there's no excuse for it looking like garbage.
Okay, well, I'm fine with it. Screw you. I get to decide for my opinion.
Whatever.
So, whatever. I'll get all past that. But what I think is really good about it is it is despite being anti-traditional in certain ways, it promotes a very traditional and wholesome and not wholesome in like a meme sense. Actually good relationship. And the beginnings of a very good relationship.
You're going to have to continue on that because I don't agree.
Is the model of a Sigma male.
What do you mean?
He's extremely competent and confident also. He's a landowner, for one.
He is an independent landowner.
He's an independent landowner. And he's doing something good for the people, for the fairytale creatures.
He doesn't want to do that, but he does end up doing that.
Yeah, because he's like, look, these people are on my land.
Yeah.
I'm going to go take care of my land, all right? And he doesn't complain about it. He just immediately says, I am going to do something about this. You tell me where to go. Well, he's a man of action, right? He's an ogre of action right away. And it's not a stretch at all.
That's a huge stretch because he's actually it's the classic hero's journey where he very much wants nothing to do with any of it. It's only because it personally affects him and he's annoyed that he reluctantly goes and does it.
I never said being a Sigma male is a good thing.
Okay, but you said he was all gung-ho and it didn't take him any time to decide. That's not true at all.
What are you talking about? Right away. He gets there, he says...
Not right away.
He says, yes, right away. He gets back to his swamp. There's all the people there. He says, all the fairy tale creatures. He says, go. And he's like, we've nowhere else to go. So he says, okay, who's doing this? I'm going to fix it right away. And then he does. And then he doesn't even pack. He just walks. He just starts going.
I mean, yeah, that's true that he just starts going after he decides, I guess. But
there wasn't even like a thought. There wasn't like, I don't want to. There's no refusal to call. He just says, there's an issue I have to fix.
Yes, there is. He like tells them like, it's not my problem. Get off. And then they tell him they have nowhere to go. So then he reluctantly.
Exactly. He gets down to business.
I feel like you just are looking at what you want to see on this.
I feel like you're looking at what you want to see, and you're failing to see.
It's the most clear hero's journey beginning that I've ever seen.
There was no refusal to call.
Yes, there was. No. You're out of your mind. But
no.
Okay, whatever. Keep going.
The listeners will know. Play back the movie. You're gonna have to watch the whole movie again, and you'll have to tell me.
I won't do that. It put me in such a bad mood. I will not watch.
I won't make you do it. I won't make you do it again. But he does that. He just goes, fixes the issue. He goes to Lord Farquaad, right?
Right.
And he fights everyone. And he's good at it. And he's charismatic right there in the ring. He's very, very competent. He gets it done.
Yeah, I mean, like, by accident. Like, he walks in...
he did it 100% on purpose.
Dalton, he walks in not with the intention to beat up anyone, just to tell the king he wants his land back. Mm-hmm. Then he ends up fighting everyone because the king sicks them on him, and he is successful and beats all of them, at which point the king just points a bunch of crossbows at him, and he would have been dead, except the king, on a whim, decides to have him be his champion.
But he wasn't, like, complaining or anything about it. He just, okay, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah, which Donkey then makes fun of like, why didn't you just beat up the king? Why are you just like, you're serving the king so that you can get rewarded with the land that is already yours. You're a pussy. Like, he doesn't say you're a pussy. Is that what he said? But that's what Eddie Murphy implies. I don't know, dude, you're making this all seem like it's very heroic, but it's not in any way. Like, it's just, he just sort of bumbles into this.
It's not heroic, but he maintains his composure. And he just gets it done. He does
not maintain his composure either. Every scene with Donkey is him losing his composure.
Oh, with Donkey, that is true. But that's for laughs. That's not like part of the themes.
It's still him? What do you mean? That's like a big part of the movie.
Look, all right, I'm making my points.
You can't make your points by ignoring every other part of the movie.
And then we get here's the meat of what I'm saying.
Okay.
He gets Fiona. Fiona's a dumb bitch.
Sure.
He says, shut up, I don't care.
Yeah.
That is how you should treat women.
Okay.
Because the other part, I maintain I'm right, but you have some points. That's not the meat of what I'm saying. The meat of what I'm saying is that it's a good movie film. It's a good film representation of the beginnings of what a relationship should be, which is you meet the woman, she's annoying. Every woman you meet at first is going to be annoying. They do something called I don't know if you're like in red pill circles, you know what I mean? But the shit test. This is well known.
Yeah.
They're going to say stuff purposefully to annoy you and see what your reaction is.
The fact that you think that's what was portrayed in this movie I'd like to study that more than I'd like to study this movie. Because I don't know how your brain works that's what you saw in this movie.
Really?
Yeah, because that's not what happens. What happens is he rescues this woman. He wants nothing to do with her. It's not a relationship.
Yeah.
It's not like he's using red pill tactics to get a girl. He doesn't want the girl, right? Like even using your own description, he's not like the alpha male trying to get a girl. He's the sigma male who wants nothing to do with her. He basically kidnaps her, just slings her over her shoulder.
Yeah.
Again,
based.
Fine, but not are you saying the movie was trying to tell people and that's what you should take away, kids, is that you should kidnap women?
No.
Do you know wife kidnapping is making a bbig comeback in Mongolia right now?
Oh, good for them.
Do you know why?
I have no idea, and I regret saying good for them.
This is very interesting. So there was a little Vice documentary, and they interviewed one of these guys, and they were saying Westerners are telling us not to kidnap our wives, and they said but then they tell us that we should encourage men to marry men and women to marry women. So clearly, we're not going to fucking listen to anything they have to say about marriage. So we're just going to keep kidnapping our wives because the Westerners don't know anything about marriage. And it's like, you know what? Good point.
That is what's called losing credibility.
Yeah, like I would also not listen to somebody who's like, marriage is important. You shouldn't force somebody into it. Also, gays. Yeah. It's like, you don't know. Nope.
We're not on the same.
We're not on the same page. We don't feel the same way about marriage. Ironically, the Mongolians have a better look on marriage.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating you kidnap your wife.
That's too bad.
But what that
and neither is the movie, I think, which is too bad.
What that represents is just that's how you meet. That's just a way you meet.
That's not very useful.
No. I'm not saying
I'm supposed to go fucking to I'm supposed to go to a castle surrounded by lava and kidnap a woman?
I mean, you meet women in places you don't expect.
He went there to find a woman. It was the only thing he expected there. He knew this is where the woman is.
But I mean, the woman you marry, you don't necessarily go out to meet the woman you marry. You might, but that's not. I didn't expect to meet my wife in college, especially the college I went to.
So do
you didn't expect to meet your girlfriend from some guy at church saying, "Hey, do you want to Skype my niece?" It's unexpected.
I mean,
Shrek didn't expect to go to a castle that day. When he woke up, I'm gonna get me my wife from a castle.
You're moving the goalpost because you're saying first you're saying that you're going somewhere for some other purpose and you meet your wife.
Yes.
Then you're saying you didn't know where you were going to go. Those are completely different. He knew where he was going, and
you have to think on a meta level.
You're just changing whenever it fits. Okay, I guess you could say, I'm going to help you with this. I'm going to help you along here.
Thank you.
You could say that he was going to the castle for his job.
That is exactly what I'm referring to.
And along the way, he was just doing his job. He didn't care about the woman. And
you meet under unexpected circumstances.
Okay.
That is what I'm getting at.
Fine.
And that is how you meet women. Unexpectedly.
Do you think that is something the movie's trying to say?
No.
Okay.
Shrek is more of an allegory.
What's it an allegory?
I'm just saying it's a representation of this is something this is a way you might want to act. These are things you might want to do if you want to get and keep a woman that you meet.
Let me see if I understand what you're saying. So you're saying that this part of the movie is good and does some amount to justify the movie in like being good because it shows a male main character. The guy is fucking doing his lawn again.
That's something else. That's like a belt sander or something.
I think you're right.
He's done.
But you're saying so because it's a situation where a male character meets a woman in an unexpected scenario.
I'm not
which
done.
Is realistic.
I'm not done with my whole argument.
Oh, you have more?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I have
didn't
to
follow. Okay,
I have to spin you a yarn here.
Okay, keep going. Sorry.
So that he meets the woman just by doing his job. That's a good way to look at it. He's going about his Sigma business.
Okay.
He meets the Shrekma business. He meets the woman. The woman is annoying. She's got stupid ideas in her head about marriage and love and how it all works. Women have that, especially nowadays. They get stupid fucking ideas. And they're unrealistic.
She almost has the traditional version of stupid ideas. Like watch a bunch of Disney movies.
Yeah, no, really. And she expects everything to be perfect. You get your Prince Charming. He's great. You have a perfect wedding. You can impress everybody, all your friends. Mm-hmm. I'll mention it now. I'll get into it later. This is a anti-classist movie as well. You can look at it as a race thing. I look at it as a class thing.
Okay, all right, okay.
And immediately Shrek is shutting that down. Like, well, that's stupid. Let's go. And she's like, no, okay, I'm going to pick you up then because you're being a bitch.
Okay.
That's how it works. That is immediately what happens in relationships. Women do that. Don't at me. At me, actually. Cheddar Breeze. Follow me on Twitter. So then what happens later, they start to demonstrate value to each other. Shrek doesn't have to do a lot of that because he's clearly so competent in everything. He doesn't have to go out of his way to demonstrate value. right?
Okay.
As they're going to their journey back to Duloc. But Fiona, where she starts to demonstrate value, is fighting the merry men, which you kind of look at that as a feminist thing.
Yeah, because it's impossible. I think it was just kind of played for laughs and everything, but if you tell me that's a feminist thing, I won't disagree. Yeah, sure.
But on a more meta level, that's starting to demonstrate value. That's when Shrek sees, oh, there's more to this woman that meets the eye.
I would say you'd be better off ignoring that aspect if you want your argument to be convincing.
There's more.
Ignore that one and go to the cooking. She cooks for us.
Yes, she goes out of her way to cook. There's that one in the montage with that eel song. She makes the mutton out of a spider web and everything. That's valuable.
Yeah. She's preparing food.
Yeah, she kind of makes they camp that one time, and she kind of makes that little house with a door and everything. She's keeping things up.
I remember that, but I know the rest of it. I remember it. So.
And that's when Shrek kind of starts to fall for, because okay, you have value, I have value. That's how it works.
Well, that's not how the movie portrays it, though. The movie portrays it as Shrek is abrasive, aggressive, and gross. And wait a minute, he completely misjudged this woman. She's also gross. That's how the movie portrays it. And now that they have things in common, Shrek wants to be with her.
So you could look at it as gross. I look at it as blue collar.
Eating bugs, dude.
Not eating. Not the bugs. Did she eat the bugs? By the way, I think she did.
No,
also
I think
eat.
just what? Oh, she licked her fingers after she made it.
Oh, okay, that's weird.
Yeah,
that's kind of weird.
Yeah,
but I think that Shrek represents more of a lower class, like a truck driver, like a plumber. He's like a cool, salt of the earth guy, and she's big money.
I have a response to that real quick.
Okay.
I think you're right, which is one of the reasons I hate this movie. This movie is trying to take the lower class and make them into an ugly caricature of themselves.
I think you have a good point.
Okay. Thanks. Because it's like what did the lower class used to consume? Fairy tales, where you've got heroes and this fucking guy. But so what the lower class used to consume was fairy tales and legends and myths, where you've got heroes and you've got good people, beautiful people, heroic people that the lower class aspires to be, and that's being replaced by Shrek. But so I think it's this movie is actually lowering the standards of the lowest class, of which I was a clear member.
So yeah, that's one of the.
A clear member.
So here, let me just round out the relationship part.
Okay.
Then they get married. They see they're actually kind of on the same page about things. Fiona, what's more important to Fiona is actually a good man rather than being classist, rather than maintaining the upper class. Because she could have married a man that she didn't respect and been upper class and been a queen, and that's great. That sounds pretty good. But instead she said, no, I'm going to go with a man who I actually like, who actually has real value. And I think that is good, but where I kind of got a little tripped up is that good? You know what I mean? Because now we have an anti-classist message, which is weird. I think traditional, aristocracy, classism...
Hierarchy.
Yeah, hierarchy is actually good.
Right.
So... I'm kind of conflicted because she made the right decision. What's more important is marrying a man that you respect, who's a good man, who's gonna. That's just more important.
Sure.
So I think she probably made the right call, but I have more of an issue with choosing to write that story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In this circumstance, she did the right thing, but in general, the whole anti-classist thing is not good because we should want to lift ourselves up, and we should have people to look up to.
It's an example of there's a general reversal that's taken place in recent history, and that's that in the past when there was a hierarchy and there was a king and knights and this noble class of people that was above the normal peasant class, the natural reaction, how that naturally went, is that the lower class would try to emulate the higher class. Like, you see the example, I think it was like tomatoes or something, but there was some vegetable that the peasantry all thought was poison, and they didn't want to eat it, but the king wanted to, like, sell it in his kingdom. Like, he wanted it to be in his kingdom.
I think it might be tomatoes. I think you're right.
I think it is tomatoes. I don't remember where it was, though. But, so what he did was he grew it in his own garden and told his guards to let people steal it. But, like, pretend like he was guarding it, and he loved tomatoes. And then all the people went, because they're like, well, I want to be like the king. So I'm going to steal his tomatoes and plant my own tomatoes and stuff. That was, like, the natural thing that happened, is they wanted to emulate the people above them. In recent history, that has been completely reversed to where now, like, the celebrity class in the U.S. wants to emulate the poorest people in the U.S. They don't want to look rich. Like, they want to hide the fact that they're rich. They want to dress in really shitty clothes. And so I feel like this movie is, like, another piece of that puzzle of just, like, things being reversed in that way.
Yeah, I was trying to find the exact quote, but Chesterton said... Well, I won't give you the exact quote because I'm not going to spend all this time to look for it. But he said, if you get rid of kings, people are going to look up to celebrities. People are going to look up to sports stars. And that's exactly what's happened. You get unworthy.
Well, but see, I think it's even worse because these celebrities and sports stars then start looking up to people who are poor.
Yeah, I see.
And like they start dressing like homeless people. Whereas before, the homeless guy would try and dress like the king.
Johnny Depp with his bracelets.
Exactly. Yeah, sure.
Looks like garbage, dude.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So I will fight to the death that the relationship aspect of Shrek will send you to hell. But
you mean heaven?
Heaven, correct. Thank you.
I mean, I don't agree, but I just know that's not what you meant to say.
I think that will send you to heaven, and I think the rest might not affect, like, the society thing I was talking about, the classism. That might not, like, affect you so much as an individual, where it would send you to hell, but it might send a society to hell.
Okay, all right.
So I'm a little conflicted on Shrek.
Okay, what do you think, like, the theme of it is? The classism thing, or, like, you think there's another...
I think, yeah, the theme probably is don't... This is mostly, like, for women, but you should marry for real values and people and you should marry someone you respect versus marrying for something for shallow reasons, for status, for money, which is what Fiona's big choice was at the end. There might be another one for men, a secondary theme more directed toward men, which is, I guess, go for it. That would probably be the theme for men.
And do you think the themes...
Because that was Shrek's big conflict is, well, I'm a lower class guy. She won't want to be the princess or anything. But hey, he shot his shot and he made it. This is sort of complicated by the misunderstanding when he mishears Fiona, which is, I hate that kind of thing in writing.
Yeah.
It's just like, really, you could just talked and you would have fucking figured that out. But yeah, I guess that would be what it is go for it, have self-esteem.
And do you think, because we're talking about both movies, do you think the theme is the same in Shrek 2?
No.
Okay.
I have some choice words for Shrek 2.
Do you not like Shrek 2?
I think it's such a good movie with questionable themes.
Okay. How about this? I think you should go into what you feel about Shrek 2, because I think now, listening to you, I have more to say about these movies. If you want to split it. Like, seriously.
Than you originally thought?
Than I originally did, because I just disagree with you.
I think they're kind of complex movies, really.
I don't know.
So, Shrek 2, I have some... My big problems with Shrek 2 are the general view on marriage, which is that it's not... Look, marriage is forever, buddy.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like that Shrek is like, I think I'm just not the one for her, you know? Not good.
I don't mean to interrupt, but yeah, I want to just double down on the fact that Shrek 2 seems to imply, it very heavily implies, like it is basically the plot of the movie, is that it is completely acceptable to divorce someone after like a week if you're not feeling it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not feeling it, it's kind of what it was.
Yeah.
That very premise, that's bad.
Really bad.
That's really bad.
Really
and as a
bad.
kid, it made complete sense to me because of course it did.
Right.
Because of course it did.
Yeah.
There's that, and also Shrek is a big cuck and simp in the movie.
Yes.
He, like, all of his Sigma energy was destroyed when he got married. Which, by the way, watch out for that. That's almost like a good theme as like an allegory, like, but that's not what anyone's gonna get.
No, that's not what the movie's about, but it does accidentally portray that.
Yeah, a lot of in real life, like hyper masculine men are just absolutely whipped.
I'd say
by their wives.
I'd say this is worth mentioning just a little bit about this. So the normal progression is that when you're single, the most effective thing to be is extremely like alpha, like not really caring, being aggressive and like not really caring about the woman in a way that makes her kind of pursue you. Like that kind of thing is better generally. I mean, because
it shows that you have value, and if she's on your team, she's not going to get fucked with.
Right, and
it's good.
And
it's
the more obvious value you have, the less that's necessary. This is why like big celebrities who make millions of dollars, like musicians, can write a really sappy song about some girl and get away with it because they're obviously valuable. They're worth millions. Whereas if you do that, she'll leave you. That's why, you know? But so for the average person, that is just one of the best strategies. And then the further and further you get into a relationship that's serious, the more and more the woman needs it's okay, this is maybe the best way to put it. The woman originally gets interested in you because of the idea that you are valuable enough that you could have anyone. But the further you go, the more reassurance she wants that you picked her and you are not going to have somebody else. So it's almost like the alpha part, to use just the terms that everybody uses. The alpha part is at first like 100% alpha, but gets a little more and more beta as time goes on, which is good. But some men get married and then go full beta, which is not good.
Exactly, yeah.
Like yes, you do want to reassure her that like you picked her, you're not you're not going to cheat on her or something, but you don't want to fully back off of the idea that like you are worthwhile. You're not like when men say like, "Oh, I'm so lucky to have her." You know, even just a simple saying like that's so like ingrained. It's like you shouldn't. It's degrading to yourself. Like it's like self-deprecating. Like you're not worth.
Like
that's a real sentiment.
I'm lucky to have my wife. She's lucky to have me.
Exactly.
You know,
if you can, like, it's not that even just because it's not true. It's because of what people focus on. People always, and especially in our culture, it's always like the woman is some
happy
saint.
wife, happy life.
That kind of mentality. It's like it's really really bad, and that's just what can happen.
And does happen
in Shrek
constantly. 2. And also, in Shrek 2. That's exactly what happened. Shrek loses like all confidence, like immediately. Well, at the beginning of the movie, he had it because he said, "All the guys come up with the trumpets," and he's like, "Oh, that's stupid. I'm not gonna do that." And she says, "Oh, I think you should go." And he said, "No, that's a bad idea." And then hilarious cut. Now we're in the car, and
I just thought of a way that ties into this to where I like the second movie a little more. Do you mind if I digress a little bit?
Yeah, digress, man.
Okay. So what happens? Because basically, I would say that Shrek in the first and second movie, but to the second movie to a less extent, like we said, is an asshole. And like kind of a bad person, or at least a quite mean, quick, short-tempered person.
Unpleasant. He's an unpleasant
person. Yeah.
ogre. He's an ogre.
And it's very rude to people. You know what I mean? But like, and those aren't good things necessarily. And then in the second movie, he's kind of a cuck and tries to like be a nicer person, both literally in his actions and by looking like an actual human being. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the movie, Fiona says, when given the choice between his new self and his old self, picks his old self because that's, quote, the ogre she married. Which in a weird way, you could take as like being against what we were just talking about. Because what we were just talking about...
Being a cuck.
Going from full alpha to full beta. Because what's wrong with that? The biggest thing that's wrong with that is if you're full alpha, she marries you, then you become beta, you're no longer what she married.
She bought a ticket for a roller coaster. She got married.
She got a different ride. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so in a weird way, Shrek 2 teaches the lesson that like, hey, if she fell in love with you because you're a fucking asshole, you can't stop being an asshole. You can lower it down a little bit, but sorry, you've got to be an asshole.
Honestly, like that is how it is.
To some extent, it has that message, and that's not that bad of a message.
It's not. I think really, you look at like boomer marriages and stuff. Mm-hmm. That's how they all are. That's why the woman loses respect for the man, because she married a guy who was a fucking chainsaw guy. Or, he drove a backhoe. He was a cool guy.
Well,
and then he goes soft.
Yeah.
She married a rough and tumble guy, and now he's not.
I mean, you look at these, like, the old stories of, like, boomers and, like, how they found their wives and stuff. And it was always, like...
I came back from the war.
I came back from the war. Well, boomers not really back from the war. Well, maybe Vietnam.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, I came back from the war, or, like, some situation like that, and it's like... I saw her, I decided right then I was going to marry her, and I asked her out, and we were married within a year. And then I was whipped. You know what I mean? Like they don't say that part, obviously, but it's like, what did she marry? She married a guy who saw what he wanted and fucking got it.
Yeah.
And now, who is she married to? She's married to a guy who will not do that in any area of his life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, no wonder they're fucking unhappy.
Mm-hmm. That is a good message of Shrek 2.
It's actually a good message of Shrek 2, and I hated Shrek 2.
I don't think that's what most people are going to get out of it, though.
No, I don't think so either. I think it's just kind of, now that we're talking about these, it's kind of like you can use Shrek 2 to meditate on these topics, but it's not what Shrek 2's about, really. It's just it can be used as a meditative tool.
It is.
Shrek 2.
There's some cool stuff. Yeah, like relationship stuff. You really think about it. Like, one, I watched this with my cousin Sam when he was here.
Oh.
And he made the point. I thought this was great. What happens in Shrek is this is the advice from Shrek that you could take. Don't change for a woman. Make her change. Which is what happens.
That is true.
That's another good red pill.
See, I definitely took it in a more negative way, which I'll go into, but like, even in my negative way of taking it, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Like, make the woman, like, you're an ogre? Don't become a person. Make her an ogre.
That's pretty cool.
That
is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think.
Do you have anything else to say? That was a bit of a digression.
No, I mean that was like the main stuff.
Okay.
No, that was a digression because I was thinking bad, and now I'm thinking good.
Right.
Except for what's way more in your face is the point of divorce.
Yeah.
Which is heavily implied that Shrek might just leave Fiona because he's not high class enough. Which I thought we kind of went over the first movie, but I guess not. I guess not. Dreamworks.
We're retreading a little bit.
Yeah, but that's okay. There is some Shrek 2 is at least funny, right? You probably laughed at a couple parts, like at least.
No, I didn't think it was funny.
You didn't think any of it was funny?
The only part I thought was funny, actually, that's in Shrek 1. Shrek 1,
the gingerbread man scene, right? That's a really funny scene.
In Shrek 1, there's like one part in Shrek 1 and one part in Shrek 2 that I actually laughed at. In Shrek 1, it was the line towards the end. It's rude enough for you to even exist without anyone wanting you. Something like that.
Yeah,
I laughed at that. That was a great line. And then I don't remember what it was in Shrek 2, to be honest with you. But that's it. Like, there's only 2 parts where I actually laughed.
You didn't like the giant gingerbread man?
No.
Oh, I liked that one.
I thought it was so stupid. I thought
okay.
These whole movies are so stupid. I felt dumber, especially after the first movie.
I don't like Donkey. I think don't show this movie to your kids because they're gonna think Donkey is funny.
Exactly.
And Donkey is annoying, and then your kid's gonna be annoying.
Donkey is Jar Jar Binks writ large.
That's racist. Which, by the way,
Jar Jar Binks is Jamaican, and Eddie Murphy is not Jamaican. You're racist.
Shrek 2 is racist, by the way.
What do you mean? It's all about accepting the fact that your wife has married someone, or your daughter has married someone who's green. It's actually anti-racist.
Well,
it's not better to become white. It's better to stay green.
I think in Shrek 1, if you say Shrek 1's about race, it's not really going to stand up. There's not enough race stuff. In Shrek 2, there is. And there's the implication that if a white woman marries a black man, she's basically black now.
I don't think it's a racial message. I think they make a couple racial implied jokes.
Like, is one of those jokes when Fiona says, "You're acting like an ogre," which is clearly a stand-in for the N-word? What about, here's a question.
I am the N-word.
That's kind of... Here's a question. What about in the end, in the after credits? Did you stay for the after credits, by the way?
Stay? What do you mean? I watched on my computer. I pressed the fucking right arrow key a few times to make sure there wasn't an after credit. And there was.
When the dragon... Oh, I just realized more racist stuff. When the dragon comes back and then has the kids with Donkey.
Yeah.
Donkey says, "Look at my mutant babies."
Yeah.
Which tells me that mixed race children are mutants.
I mean, to be fair, the offspring between a donkey and a dragon are mutants, and they're not going to be able to reproduce. They should have shown that actually more negative than it was. Because, you've doomed those kids to a fruitless existence.
I'm just saying, I watched it. I watched the movie. And now every time I see a mixed race person, there's going to be mutant in my head. The word mutant. You just made me more racist, Dreamworks.
All right.
I didn't know that was possible. We also, I'm not done.
Okay.
In the beginning, we have Donkey complaining about Dragon. She's been all moody. I don't know. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to leave her. You know?
Right.
That's bad. Donkey, by the way, who is black. Eddie Murphy's black.
Right, yeah. Okay.
He talks black the whole time.
He talks black.
Shrek 1 and 2
all right.
are basically minstrel shows in the form of Donkey. Donkey's going to leave his pregnant wife because she's been a bitch. You said it, not me.
Didn't mean to interrupt you. Yeah, you're correct. Yes, but so is Shrek, and Shrek is Scottish.
Don't mix metaphors on me, Michael.
But that's not mixing metaphors. That's just applying the same logic to the other character.
No. Well, we're talking about the Shrek being black. That is a metaphor. Donkey is played by a black man.
Right, but does that mean that Scottish people, by that same logic, are monsters? Because
you said it, not me.
I'm just checking if we're using the same logic here.
No. That's not what I meant. That's not what I mean. Mike Myers, by the way, not Scottish.
I thought he was.
No, he's not.
What is he?
He's Canadian.
What?
He's doing a voice.
What?
So he's doing an accent. You didn't know that?
Well, yeah, but I thought he was actually born in Scotland or something.
No, I'm pretty sure he's Canadian.
Is Mike Myers Scottish? Yes.
What do you mean, yes? He's Canadian.
He actually wasn't born in Canada?
Oh.
He was born... Never mind, he was born in Ontario.
Thank you, Michael.
But his parents were from England, and his parents were Scottish.
Interesting.
Apparently. I'd have to read more. It looks like they have Scottish names and stuff, but... I'd have to. Yeah. His father grew up in. No, that's Toronto. But it says they're British, dude.
He's a Canadian
as in from
man.
the UK.
You had me for a second. I was like, oh damn, maybe I was wrong. Nope, that's Toronto.
I don't know, dude. I thought he was fucking Scottish.
No,
I think his parents are Scottish. All right.
No, they're not.
He's got UK citizenship.
Oh, okay. That's Scotland.
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, it is.
Unfortunately, it is. I guess. So that's my view on Shrek 2. I don't think there's really much. I think it's funny. I think it's got some good. You don't think it's funny? I think it's funny.
So what do you think as a whole? What's the sum it up real quick?
Shrek 1. It gets a tentative send you to heaven from me. Tentatively.
Because
it will make you a better man in a relationship.
Okay.
And it will make you make good decisions as a woman.
Even though it maybe has a weird classist message.
Yeah.
According to your
classist message in a weird sense.
Sure.
It's hard. It's got layers. It's hard to parse.
Okay.
Shrek 2 is a better movie, but that one is going to send you to hell. Because of the in-your-face divorce. Should I or should I not divorce? And that's not even resolved as, I can't leave her, I made a commitment. It's, oh no, she really does love me.
It's a terrible message.
Yeah, it's resolved in like the worst way, in the most eat, pray, love way possible. It should be resolved by Shrek saying, I made a commitment, I cannot leave no matter what, I will do what it takes. But instead it's, oh, you really do love me. It's so low T.
Oh, it's really bad. Well, and like, it's bad on every level. It's morally bad.
It is. It is absolutely morally bad. Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah, my note says, the view on marriage bad, parentheses, it's forever, bitch. You make it work. You marry a woman, that's it, dude.
Yeah,
absolutely. She either dies or you're there forever no matter what.
Yeah.
If she tries to kill you, you're still married. You might want to go get your own place to stay, but you can't. Anyone else that you're with, that's adultery.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Which some people might argue, some of our listeners might say, like, well, in extreme circumstances, maybe, divorce would be okay in abuse. No, absolutely not. And this came up, so my wife used to be Mormon, and she kind of had this conversation with some Mormon missionaries. And they said, like, oh, well, that's just, it would be too hard. It would be dangerous. And it's like, well, morality really is only important when it's hard.
True.
Really. True. Wouldn't that make it even a holier, more heroic act to do something that is hard?
Right.
So if you're one of those people who say, that's hard, I call you a little bitch. Get over it. That is what's going to build your character. Doing hard stuff is what's going to send you to heaven. Saints don't become saints by living an easy life.
Yeah. Yo, for sure. Well, it's like what Pope Benedict said, that the world offers you comfort, but you are not made for comfort. You are made for greatness.
Exactly.
Which amazing quote.
No,
amazing quote.
It is.
I also want to say,
try and stay in bed an extra 10 minutes in the morning with that quote in your mind.
I want to say another thing with the marriage thing is another way to look at it, and I think Chesterton may have said this, or maybe it was Father Wolf. I don't know, but maybe both. But people will argue, like you said, that like, oh, it'd be so hard, and like it would be better if these people divorced, right? You can even accept that. I can accept that there are situations where theoretically you can give me some situation. Your wife is trying to kill you, and she's never going to reform her ways, and it's going to be impossible to live with her. So if you stay married, like you're not having kids, you're just gonna live alone, and like you could give me some situation where by all means it seems like that would be better if you were divorced. The problem is divorce is impossible. That is the real key to this, because it does not matter what the situation is, because if you believe in divorce, you are looking at marriage in the complete wrong way, which is you are looking at it as a legal contract between two people. And in a legal contract between two people, if both parties decide they want to get rid of the contract, then what's the problem? Mm-hmm. But it is not a legal contract between two people. It is a real relationship made by God. Like, after you are married, God makes you and your wife more related than you are related to your own mother and father, or your brothers, or like whatever, and that is real. Like, that is a real, it's a sacrament that God makes a marriage. Mm-hmm. And so you cannot undo that. Like, what God has put together, man cannot tear asunder. No matter what the situation is, no matter how good it would be, divorce is impossible. So yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, you can argue all you want, but it's like, sorry, you can't get divorced. You can say you're divorced, you're wrong. Mm-hmm. You put a it's, well, this might be a bit of a stretch, but it's like you put a dog in a stable, it's not a horse. It really does not matter what you do to that dog. Yeah. It is still a dog.
Even if it would be more convenient to put it in a stable.
Even if you
can't
really,
call it a horse.
Even if you really, really need a horse.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a dog. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Maybe dog and horse weren't the best examples, but best analogies for wife.
Well, yeah. You're not married yet. Once you are married, you'll start thinking about those kind of things.
Right.
She's going to listen to the podcast.
The
podcast. What did you tell me? What on the show? What did you say? That's what my wife sounds like. What are you talking about, Shrek? You want to take a break?
Yeah, let's take the email break.
The email break. Well, first we have to thank our producers.
So who are our producers this week?
We have CONFOX again.
Thank you, CONFOX.
Thank you, CONFOX. $15 for an executive producership. Just think, this week, if you had listened to me and just donated $16, you could be the executive producer.
You could be thanked by name.
By right name.
Now, or
you
by
could,
alias.
You could put this on your resume. You could put this on your LinkedIn that you're an executive producer, but you didn't. You didn't just donate $16 to paypal.me/willitsendmetohell. If you wanted to be an associate executive producer, all you had to donate, I think, was $3.
Yes. Yes, because
let's thank Ezra, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ezra,
for associate executive producer.
Yeah.
Now the next show will be the first show of the month, and that'll be the Patreon producers. So you'll be thanked then if you're on Patreon.
Right. We do have some. We don't want to make it seem like we're not getting any support or something. Mm-hmm. We're getting some nice regular donations from our patrons. I believe CONFOX in particular is up to like $40 a month right now. And so those will be thanked. Those will be included on the first show of the month. So yeah, probably the next one we do.
And we, thank you. That's value for value.
Oh yeah, and that's very. Those are even nicer because that's a nice steady. Like, the more of those we have, the more we can kind of look at it like, oh, we're making this much a month off the podcast.
We can drop a day of work. I can justify this amount of time spent to do something longer.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are very appreciated.
No, thank you so much for seeing something you believe in and you want more of in the world. Like, that's a little heroic in its own way. There's also tons of other things you can do if you don't have money. One of our Evangelion episodes, we had some really cool art that I got to put up on YouTube. That was really cool. That's value for value. That all counts. If you have any cool ideas of growing the podcast, let me know. Send me something on Twitter. Send me something on Discord. Or just share it around.
Shill the podcast in places. Send it to your friends.
Put it on Reddit.
Put it somewhere.
On those Catholic Discords that I know you're in.
Like it. Comment on YouTube. There's this... even though we can see that people are watching it on YouTube and on these other, like, on Spotify and stuff to some extent, the comments are nice because it just reinforces that, like, we are shooting this out into the aether, and it almost feels sometimes like that's just where it stays, Yeah. But when you get a comment where someone says, like, this was good, or like, this was garbage, or like whatever, it's like, oh, that guy listened. That guy really, this actually got received somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
It's very important. Also, what the heck was I going to say? Oh, for the value, if you choose to go the money route, we forgot to mention on the last podcast, but we did announce if you donate a cumulative $500 on both Patreon and PayPal, you're an official patrician, and we will send you a certificate.
To be clear, you said and or PayPal. You could send $500 on PayPal. You could do Patreon for a bunch of months. However it adds up that eventually you hit $500.
Yeah, cumulatively. Yeah.
Well, you just said, I don't know. The way you said it sounded weird.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, if what you have donated, no matter where you did it,
exactly,
totals $500, we're going to send you a certificate. We might sign it. I don't know. We'll figure out some way to do it. I'll sign it with a pseudonym.
If you have any weird ideas for stuff we can do to make this kind of cool, let me know.
Yeah, let me know. I want these patricians
to be recognized.
Yeah, they're gonna frame this shit. It's gonna. I would frame that.
Yeah.
I'm an executive producer.
Send us a pic.
I'm an official patrician. I have a certificate that says I'm a patrician.
Yeah.
I'd love to have that.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you. We honestly can't do without you guys. Now on to the email portion of the show.
Shoot me an email, Dalton. Not shoot. You know what I mean?
We got a few different emails about Shrek. Actually,
Good.
I just got off of a stream. I'm streaming, by the way. Cheddar Breeze on Twitch Tuesdays, 10 a.m. Pacific. So I told people on there, hey, I haven't got that many emails.
And I think we got a bunch more after you
send me some emails. Yeah, we did. Here's one from Roger. We got two from Roger. I'm too smooth-brained to know much about whether this movie is moral or not. The only thing I noticed about it is that it criticized private property.
I do not remember when it criticized private property.
It didn't. He's wrong. It did not.
Do you know what
it did
he's
not
referring to?
I think he's referring to Shrek wanting to have his swamp to himself, which
I don't think that was criticized in any way. Like, that was his motivation in the movie, and I don't think there was any part of the movie that really said that was wrong of him. It was wrong of him. The movie does have sort of a side message about it being wrong of him to wanting to shut himself behind, like, in his swamp alone.
Yeah, Shrek is lonely.
But that has nothing to do with property rights. You know? I don't think this is a communist movie in that way. So
you've misinterpreted Shrek. Congratulations, Roger. We got another one from him. Why does human Shrek look like Michael? You know, when he becomes handsome. What a nice thing of Roger to say.
Hell yeah, dude. Thanks, Roger. I've gotten a lot of So for people who don't watch my Twitch, which is going to be not that many people, honestly, but Yeoman Video, by the way, on Twitch, YEOMANVIDYA. But I recently did a face reveal, and it's been very positive, mostly. That's the problem, though, is like all the positive comments in one ear, out the other. Negative comments, I'll remember them the rest of my life.
What are some of your negative comments?
Some guy
what are people
called
saying about your look?
Potato-headed motherfucker.
So you read that and you went, shit, dude.
See, no, but what softens the blow a little bit is right before that, he said, Yeoman, I'm not going to watch you anymore because you look too much like me. And then later I said, like, hey, I just noticed that guy said that and I didn't lose any followers. Fucking leave, pussy. And he said, like, I'll do it, pussy, or something like that. And he still didn't leave. So he was just fucking with me.
All right. Sure he was.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I had to tell myself.
Yeah. I think I would tell you if you had a potato head.
It doesn't really even, I don't even know what that means.
No, I can think of better stuff to call you. We got one from, this doesn't say his name, so I won't.
Okay.
Is Shrek a movie about interracial and interspecies marriage? No. I think the second one, yes, kind of. Yeah. The first one, it's about class.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it really is. I think the second one has a little bit of that.
And then our last email, we didn't get too many. We got short ones. People wrote short ones.
There are no black people in either of the movies. Like, they're black actors, but not actually any black people, right?
No.
It's interesting.
There
is one black animal. Yeah. But, I mean, okay, to be clear, it takes place in, like, a fantasy England. So, I'm not saying that's, like, a bad thing. I'm usually the guy who's more upset about the opposite of that, where
Yeah.
like they're inserting them in these contexts.
Well,
where it
but
doesn't
Far,
make
Far
sense.
Away is clearly Los Angeles.
Exactly. That's when it becomes weird, is when Far, Far Away is like a Los Angeles place and is very modern in all these jokey ways, but still doesn't have anyone who's not white.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, the only person who isn't white, unless you believe the Spanish aren't white, then I guess there's a cat. But otherwise, you just have donkey, and either way, it's two animals. So,
Yeah. Is Dreamworks implying that in a perfect fairy tale world, there's no black people? Ask yourself that question.
or they'd be subservient animals. DreamWorks, yeah.
Katzenberg, you have a lot to answer
That's why it's
for.
called DreamWorks, dude. These are the dreams they're working on.
All right, we have.
Did you notice that, by the way, just speaking of the cast, you notice that Tom Waits is in Shrek 2?
Yeah, Tom Waits is in Shrek 2. Yeah.
I had no... Because as a kid, I don't know who Tom Waits is.
I had no idea.
But
he sings in the saloon.
Yeah. He played... I mean, it's basically Captain Hook. And, like, I heard his voice, and I'm like, there's no way. Like, there's no chance Tom Waits is in this movie. And I look it up, and it's like, that's fucking Tom... Like, I was blown away. Yeah. I mean, also Larry King's in it, but that's the kind of weird tie-in I can believe. You know?
Yeah, for like a little cameo as a joke.
Yeah, as a woman.
But Tom Waits?
But Tom Waits is like, does anyone even know who Tom Waits is? Like I just know of him because he was like, people would talk about him on 4chan Mew.
Yeah.
And talk about like Rain Dog, which is an amazing album. Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, because it was such a weird album. And it's like, yeah, it was strange. It was surreal seeing Tom Waits or hearing Tom Waits.
Yeah.
And recognizable. You can tell when he's singing, you know.
Oh, totally. Like right away, yeah. It is weird. They got some crazy big casting.
Larry King is just also a strange one.
Yeah. Is he still alive?
No.
Did he die recently, Larry King?
He did die last year, year before, somewhat recently.
Did he?
Larry King is dead. I know because when I was looking
usually I'm pretty good at keeping track of people.
When I was looking up the Tom Waits thing for Shrek, I found my way to the YouTube video of his cover of that, or of the Shrek version of the song he sings in that scene, and some of the comments were like, "Rest in peace, Larry King," because Larry King's also in that scene. He's definitely
so here's a big tangent, but it's a podcast, all right? You got time on your hands.
Yeah.
We just had Trevor Moore recently.
Who's? Oh, Wise Kids.
Wise Kids,
Right.
And then we had Norm Macdonald.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the third? It's always threes.
Look,
I don't like this. Someone mentioned this to me. I think they're right. I think it's Bill Murray.
Yeah.
I think Bill Murray might be on deck.
Yeah. Is there any? Is he sick in any way though?
I haven't heard from him in a while. I haven't seen him do anything in a while.
That's true.
Same thing with Norm.
Yeah, Norm Macdonald. Well, I didn't know if he was still doing that podcast.
No,
he wasn't. Yeah. Is there anyone else who's like sick though? Like actually,
I don't know. Well, no one knew that Norm Macdonald was sick.
I mean, I don't follow celebrities at all, so that's the problem. It's like,
I'm just saying, there's got to be some comedian who's about to go.
Someone's about to go. Yeah, that makes sense.
Hi, I don't actually know what to write in this email, but Dalton kept begging people to send emails on his stream, so okay, I'll leave that part out. The only thing I remember from watching the movie is that I was irritated by the romance drama shit and wanted more Donkey and Shrek shenanigans. Okay.
I will say, even though I disliked the movies as a whole, I think that is a common thing that people liked about the movie was just the the dynamic between Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good combination. They could have removed Fiona from the movie and added more shitty jokes and pop songs, and I would have liked it more. Also, Shrek 2 is the peak of the franchise, clearly. And Jennifer Saunders, Holding Out for a Hero, is the best version of the song despite not being the original. Can't change my mind. Yours faithfully, Vacation.
That is a good version of that song.
It's a pretty good.
Really
That whole sequence. Ooh, I'm gonna make you mad right now. So, all of the action in both Shrek 1 and Shrek 2. There's a lot of action. I'll name off some good scenes. In Shrek 1, the fighting the guys in the tournament and the dragon.
Right.
Those were very good sequences. Like however you cut it, it was well choreographed. It was very well done. And the end of Shrek 2, the big climax, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That action, all better than the rebuilds, Evangelion rebuilds.
Maybe.
They were engaging and creative and well done. Shrek.
It's strange that you might be right about. I don't think they were. None of them stuck with me except the climax of Shrek 2. Mm-hmm. I did think was like, oh, that was pretty well done. And that's probably better than most of the rebuilds. I'd have to think about it, but you might be right. It's embarrassing, Anno.
It is. That guy cannot catch a break on this show.
Yeah.
Okay, that concludes the emails segment.
Not too much.
Yeah, no, we didn't get too much. willitsendmetohell@gmail.com. Send in your... Oh, we didn't talk about what we're doing for the next show.
We haven't discussed it.
We haven't discussed it even a little bit. Do you want to decide right now really quick? Just say something right off the top of your head, man.
Gattaca.
Gattaca?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, Gattaca. Gattaca's next. Gattaca's so good.
Yeah, I've watched it like 8 times, so I'll watch it like 3 more times before we. I've watched it maybe 11 times. I've watched it so many times. I love that movie.
Gattaca is... The older I get, the more I appreciate it. When I first watched it, I thought like, that's a good... I get it. That's pretty good. And then I watched it not that long ago with Sarah, and I thought, wow, this is an amazing movie. And now I'm constantly thinking about it and referencing it and everything.
Yeah.
So
every time I go swimming, I talk about Gattaca.
Yeah, right? We'll do Gattaca next.
Okay.
willitsendmetohell@gmail.com. Ask us about anything, really.
Yeah.
But mostly Gattaca. But if you have like a question about like the faith or anything like that, or your girl is giving you the shit test and you're not really sure how to respond.
You want advice?
You want to know how to get people out of your swamp? You let me know. Let's get back to the show.
Okay. So first, this is just something that we normally do earlier in the show, but we kind of forgot about, and I just want to cover it real quick. I think it just kind of went over our heads because this is a kid's movie.
Yeah.
But, like, is this movie moral? Will it send you to hell? Basic level. Nudity, language, that kind of stuff. Obviously, I think it should go without saying, Shrek does not feature any nudity. Do you think that's accurate?
I would agree with the sentiment, yes.
Okay. So that's fine. It's probably rated what, like PG?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. But it does sort of toe the line on language a little bit, mostly with its content more than it. Okay. I have a problem with the sort of like adult jokes hidden in kids' movies.
Yeah.
You know? Because they're not funny, first of all, which is the biggest problem with them. Mm-hmm. And the second problem is they're just as juvenile as the rest of the humor, which I guess ties into it not being funny. But it's like you're showing this to your kid, and either the kid's not going to get it, but they might know that they didn't get something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Or like there's no positive, or they're going to get it. You know what I mean? And like the only reason your kid doesn't get these jokes and you do is because they haven't been exposed to it, which is what you're doing by showing them the movie. Yeah. So like you show them Shrek enough times and they're gonna get the dick jokes, right? Like eventually. It might take 20 viewings.
Ever.
Okay, all right, okay.
Sarah thought there were dick jokes in there that weren't in there. She said, like, what about that scene where it's implied that the dragon sucks Donkey's dick? I said, what? What are you talking about?
What?
We watched the whole movie and I told Sarah, when did she suck his dick?
Wait, I think there was something.
No, there wasn't. There wasn't.
No, wait. No, I think she's right.
No, because...
I think there is a sentence that actually... I remember something like that.
There was... The line, you would have to mishear it to interpret it that way, because we went back and listened to it again. It's when the dragon is borderline raping Donkey.
Right.
He says something about his tail, and he says, like... What was it? It wasn't dick related.
Okay.
Whatever it was,
I
just
was
trust me on this.
also thinking about that specific moment,
Yeah.
but I don't think it was that line I was thinking of.
Yeah, it was just
There was
something
weird,
about
though.
his tail. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he does get basically raped in that scene.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah, weird.
Weird.
But okay, so that I'd say this like because even though this movie is
I got
clean-
another one.
Okay.
What about Lord Farquaad masturbating implied?
Where is that?
There's all these things that Sarah mentioned. I said, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Before you watch the movie at all? Or
Yeah,
after?
yeah. She's
Oh,
like,
okay.
she's like,
She
I don't
remembered
know,
it.
yeah. What about when
oh.
Lord Farquaad is about to masturbate? I said, what? So there's the
Oh,
scene where
when he's laying in bed and watching the scene over and over?
Yeah.
That did seem really strange.
that never, even as a grown up, that never crossed my mind until Sarah said something. And now it's
I
like,
did feel it was
maybe.
quite... And the mirror, the magic mirror, was like uncomfortable. Like you could tell, like he was uncomfortable with the situation.
So I don't know if that was like an intentional joke or if I'm just reading too much into it, but that's a maybe.
That's a maybe.
But even as an adult, when it's still like a maybe, I don't think that's too much. But there are some jokes that are too much.
Yeah,
that is true.
And I think the rest of the movie doesn't do enough to justify it to where like I would not show this to my kid. Like I definitely would not.
Oh, so you're saying if the rest of the movie was like really good and tight, then maybe you can.
That's
accept
yeah,
that.
yeah, and that's something I wanted to point out too. Is like so a big premise of this show, like as in this podcast.
This one right now.
Well, all of them that we're doing. This series of podcast
Yes.
episodes. Like, is that what you consume affects you. And so
Yeah.
it's because it could send you to hell. That's why you're asking the question, will it send me to hell? But, so, I think, like, a lot of people think, like, oh, it's just kids' media, so it doesn't have to be that good, right? I think it's literally the opposite. What you show your kids needs to be better than what you watch yourself, or the same, you know what I mean? But it cannot be worse. Like I said earlier, like Shrek was a much larger part of your childhood larger part of your life when you were a child than it is now.
Yeah.
You know? So it was even more important and like developmental that you watched it when you were a kid. So you have to realize that, like, if watching a bad movie can affect you, it affects you as a child more.
Yeah.
So you should have higher standards for children's media or anything that you show your kids at all. So, and even if there was nothing wrong with Shrek, if there was nothing good about it, you would still have this brain rot element of just media in general, so you shouldn't show it to your kids. But so now I kind of want to talk about the themes of these movies.
I think you're right. I don't think I would show this to Chad.
Well, that's the thing. See, there are some things we've covered where it's like, I don't know if Evangelion's the best example, but like for instance, if you really think that like Evangelion has like a really good message at the end, then you actually have to think like, would I show this to my kid when they're a little older, even though it's got X, Y, and Z wrong with it? Because it's got a good message, you kind of have to consider it. Maybe something else we've covered is a better example.
Because I disagree with the message.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think what else we've covered that would be a better example. But you get what I'm saying. There's some things that
Metal
like...
Gear Solid.
Yeah, maybe. Metal Gear Solid doesn't have any nudity. Nudity is probably the best example where it's like, oh, this has nudity, but it's a really good message, so I'm going to have to think about it. With Shrek, it's like, I don't have to think about it. It's just not good enough for me to want to show this to my kid.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so then with themes, I'm surprised you didn't say this, but I think you'll agree with me once I say it. Like, I feel like the themes of both these movies, especially the first one, is be yourself. And I know how much you hate that theme.
I do hate that theme. Yes. I don't think that is the theme.
I think...
Explain yourself.
Okay. So, the first movie is Shrek is like a shitty person. And the be yourself thing is almost more about Fiona. And, like, he meets Fiona and they find out they have all these things in common. And so what brings them together is both of them being themselves. Like Shrek wins the girl by being himself. And Fiona, who actually makes sort of the more moral choice in the first movie, like the big moral decision of the movie, chooses to be with Shrek because he is more true to who she is, right? Like she, on a personality level, is not like Farquaad, but is like Shrek. And then in the second movie, it's even more clear because they literally change into different people, Shrek and Donkey specifically, and then come to the conclusion at the end of the movie that even though those people are legitimately superior versions of themselves, they shouldn't do that because they should be themselves. I mean, especially 2, I think, really nails, drives that.
I could, here's the thing. I don't know if that's, look, here's the thing. I don't know. I think the risk you're taking in getting that theme from the movie, that's not a theme I got, but I think that's very possibly what a lot of people would get out of it.
And I think it's what was intended. I really do. Especially with Shrek 2. Shrek 1 may have had a different message alongside, or like that wasn't the primary message. Shrek 2, I think that was the message. You should not change. I mean, the whole crux, like the thing that the movie is centered around is Shrek changing. And then the end of the movie says, no, that's bad. You shouldn't change for you know what I mean? Like you need to be yourself.
Well, but it was fake. It was fake.
What do you mean?
I think that was the point. It wasn't an earned change.
No,
it was like putting on a nice suit for a girl. You know, that's not really who you are.
But the end of the movie does not end with him changing in a legitimate way. Instead,
that's true too.
It ends with him being who he is.
Yeah, no, that's true. Really, not that tight.
What, thematically?
Yeah,
it's Shrek.
I know. I know.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think. I think you might be right, but I would have to say it wasn't executed.
Well, here's what I'll say.
As well as it could have been.
I'll say that there's more to this. I just want to get that out there first
and
see what you felt about it. But so the first movie, with that in mind, has this theme, especially with Fiona. And like I said, Fiona is kind of more of the moral actor of the first movie.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
like she makes the big choice.
She has more to gain. Like if nothing goes Shrek's way, it's the same. He just goes back, it's the exact same.
Yeah.
Although you could argue that now he's demoralized. And he's actually worse. But Fiona, there's very clear decision for her. So
Shrek is an ogre. I never thought I would say that sentence. Like I'm explaining like the plot of Shrek. Shrek is an ogre.
Hey, what's that movie?
What's that movie Shrek about? We see Shrek is an ogre. But no, so like Shrek is a monster. And like symbolically in fairy tales, and like since this movie is obviously based on fairy tales, this means something. And even if it wasn't so clearly based off it would mean something symbolically. Monsters are always like represent like the passions and like the animalistic parts of like people turned into animals.
And you in traditional fairy tales.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Which this movie draws from.
But like werewolves and stuff.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So Shrek is a humanoid monster. Like it's not some unrecognizable. Which humanoid monsters again are almost always some passion or vice led too far. Vampires, werewolves, even like gnomes and like elves and shit. You like traditionally are like some evil or animalistic. Like elves kidnap children, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Stuff like that. So and Shrek is actually even an ogre is traditionally like a very angry, short-tempered, murderous sort of person.
Yeah.
And that is how Shrek is. Shrek is full of like the vice of wrath and really doesn't get over that. Like he falls in love with Fiona, but is still an asshole to like everyone else the entire time. And then in the second movie, we see that he just continues to be an asshole. So he's like a bad person morally. Like he is a slave to his wrath and never really solves that problem. Mm-hmm. So I'd say, and he is, I guess in another way of putting it, 100% monster, both in the real actual sense and in like the moral sense symbolically. Yeah. Fiona is 50% human and 50% monster. Or you could say 2/3, but at the very least at nighttime she is a monster. During the day she's good. And that's another like clear symbol of like, so some of the time she is falling into this sin. Like she is falling into a more base animalistic side of her.
Yeah, she's the kind of girl, she eats tubs of ice cream at night.
Well, I mean, I guess.
she's got something that no one knows about, yeah.
Well, and so the traditional form of this story would be that the prince saves her, which is sort of symbolic of, like, when the prince saves her from the curse, it's the prince saving her from her sins and, like, rescuing her from that.
Okay.
But instead, what this story does is says, your sins are actually who you are. You need to become like me. 100% monster.
You took a lot of steps to get to that, but I don't think any of them were stretches.
Yeah.
Especially because even at the beginning of the movie, it puts traditional fairy tales in your mind.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So you're supposed to be thinking
you're supposed to be in that
already.
Frame set. Yeah, in that mindset, in that frame. Another thing to think about, I thought about this.
Mindset.
Frame of mindset. Yeah. Imagine this. What this movie is in some way is, imagine if at the end of Beauty and the Beast, the woman became a beast. That has a completely different message than the beast becoming a man.
Yeah.
But that's what happens in Shrek.
We should have Beauty and the Beast for the show.
Maybe. I've actually never watched it. I just know what happens.
Write that down. That would be a good one.
Beauty and the Beast might be really good, yeah. But you know what I mean? Like it means something for the character, even in Beauty and the Beast, to be a beast.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right, yeah.
And then, so yeah, it's not only is the theme be yourself, but it's be yourself in your sins.
Yeah.
Which, to be clear, I'm not even saying it's not just symbolic. He is a wrathful person.
And this is kind of like more of a secular movie, so not like sins, but maybe like flaws.
Or yeah. Like if we're looking at it objectively, because morality is objective, then like they are his sins. Mm-hmm. But probably when they were making the movie, they were like, oh, you should love his faults. You know? Yeah. You should love her. You should be true to your faults. That's who you are.
Yeah.
Don't change.
Get rid of every fault that you have. Oh, yeah. You need to spend all of your effort getting rid of that fault.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
It's obvious. It's so obvious. But the world we live in, it's such a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
You are not your faults.
Well, I've heard a good moral teaching, which is that, like, I don't know who I heard this from, but it's like, whatever you struggle the most with, like whatever your fault is, that is probably what you are called to be like a saint of, to some extent.
The opposite.
So like if you are a wrathful person, God probably wants you to be just the most like patient person. Exactly. Yeah. The virtue that is opposite to that.
You're most lustful, you got to be chaste.
Exactly. Yeah, like slothful, you are called, like everyone's called to the virtues, but if if you're slothful, you're probably called particularly to be industrious. Yeah. You know?
And even at the very least, if you don't want to, if you're a spiteful person like me, you're not going to say like, oh, that's what I'm called for. You might be thinking, what's going to piss the devil off the most? You'd be looking at it the other way too.
Okay. But so, and then I think
I've heard both of those senses. Right. Yeah.
I think then the second movie doubles down on this, where symbolically Shrek becomes like a nicer person. Now he's still an asshole, and Donkey even has a line where like deep down you're still the same old angry, short-tempered, ugly Shrek.
Yeah.
And it's like, so it has a little message about like, you know, appearances aren't as important than what's inside, but then ignores the fact that what's inside is still bad. It just says like, that's fine as long as it's you.
Yeah.
But another way in which the second movie goes even further is that like the first movie is accept yourself and your sins, and then get with someone else who accepts you for your, faults, is how they would put it.
For your pornography addiction. For your alcoholism.
Exactly. For real.
Yeah.
And then the second movie is, and your parents have to accept it or they don't love you.
Yeah, I didn't mention this. I don't like the parent stuff in Shrek
it's bad.
2.
Yeah.
They locked her in a fucking tower. They can go fuck themselves.
I do like the comparison they made between locking her in a tower and daycare.
Yeah.
Which they clearly meant in a way to show that,
Shrek was like, we could have sent her to daycare. It's like, well, she didn't get raped in the tower, so.
But I love that daycare and the tower were in the same sentence. Because, But yeah, so the second movie takes it even further, and it's like, what has happened in the first movie is Fiona has given in to the temptation of becoming a monstrous person. Mm-hmm. And now she's going home, and what we're supposed to want as the audience is for her parents to accept that she is now a monster. And then at the end of the movie, even though, again, there is a little bit of like, oh, appearances aren't as important as what's inside, but they're not good people inside. So all we get instead is, yeah, they could have just looked better, but it's better that they're ugly because they are ugly. And it's like, that's not right. That's wrong. You know what I mean? Like it's also like reveling in ugliness to just as a quick aside. Like it's kind of just like, oh, you're ugly, which is beautiful. That kind of weird fucking mentality that you get nowadays, where it's like, or like, you get people, and it's like, I feel for people who, it's not like you're ugly, therefore there's something wrong with you, like on a moral level. But beauty is better than ugliness. Yeah. That should not be just like good is better than bad.
In a like a philosophical sense, having ugliness would be an evil, a lack of something that should be there, which is beauty. Yeah, which is it's the same thing as like blindness. It's bad to be blind. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But it doesn't mean you're a bad person.
No, to some extent, I do believe in the Roald Dahl, sort of frame of mind.
What? Physiognomy,
where to some extent it could mean that you're a bad person, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad person.
If you're out of shape.
There are elements, or you're just a mean-looking person because you are actually mean, but so there's that, and just this idea that like you have to accept it, everyone around you has to accept it, or else they don't love you. Yeah. Really bad themes.
That has affected our generation.
Yes.
You can kind of, now that you said that is, this movie that everyone about my age watched probably once a month on average, maybe more.
Right.
You kind of see that. I don't know how intentional the Insidious stuff is. I think they might have been kind of like,
I think they thought
the
it was
road
a
to
good
hell
message.
is paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
But kind of when you think about it, that's kind of how it is. Everyone has to accept everyone for their ugliness.
Yes, exactly. And it's like you should fall for someone for their virtues. And then you should want to improve yourself for them, and they should vice versa, want to improve themselves for you. But instead, we have a movie
society
showing the opposite. A movie and a society, showing the opposite, which is you should fall for someone who drags you down and revels in the dirt with you. Yeah.
Have you seen those videos on YouTube where it's like a furry showing their mom or something, their costume? Like, I've been doing this for years.
I can't watch those. I really
those
can't.
Are like the adult baby guys doing stuff like that. It is why get rid of that.
I've seen maybe one video like that, and it's just so hard.
Or like
if I watch with some friends,
My
maybe,
Strange Addiction. My Strange Addiction was like, this weird gross thing I do. Now you have to accept this about me.
Yeah, and it's like, no, you don't. Like, that is a problem. Yeah. Another example I is the sort of people trying to get acceptance for like disorders, and one of them is like autism, for instance. And like, I feel for people who are autistic or have kids who are autistic or whatever, but they try and now show autism as if it's like an acceptable alternative to having a normally functioning brain. And it's like, no, there's something wrong with that person's brain.
Yeah.
Now, it's almost certain. There is basically zero chance that it's that person's fault. Yeah. Right? I mean, I could list and then get arrested for listing the things that are probably causing that person to have autism, and none of them are that person's fault.
Yeah.
But, like, it's bad, though. It's like if you lost a leg, that's worse than having 2 legs. Like you can say in some moral sense that, like, the hardship from it might make you a better person, and that might be true.
That is true.
Yeah, like, there's a good chance that is true. But it still is worse. Well, it's like saying, like, oh, I was really poor growing up, and my parents were on drugs, and so I had to really struggle and build myself up, and that made me a better person. It's like, okay, but your parents being on drugs was still, like, worse than them not being on drugs. Like, it may have worked. It's kind of like God can use anything for his purposes, you know what I mean? But it would still be better if we just, like, hadn't eaten the apple. You know what I mean? Yeah. That would have still been better.
It's the weird Christian paradox where it's good to suffer, but you should try and eliminate suffering. Right,
exactly. So yeah, this movie really does just, I wrote down, it's a celebration of the ugly and the vile. Both in people and the movie. I think in a way, different parts of the movie celebrate that in the fact that I think the movie itself, like how it looks and the comedy and everything, is also ugly. But in addition to that, the themes are about being ugly, morally and physically, and how that's okay. Your partner needs to accept that. Your family needs to accept that. And that's that.
The accepting thing, that's...
And it really is a widespread problem.
Yeah. Well, St. Thomas Aquinas, his definition of love, which is the definition of love, is willing the good.
Yeah,
So you...
In other words, you want the best for somebody.
Exactly, yeah. You want the best for somebody. So if you accepting them for their faults, it depends on kind of what you mean by accept, but that's not good. You should want them to change, and not for any other reason than you love them, and it would be good for them to change.
Especially
when heaven exists and also hell, you're gonna want if you really love them, you're gonna say, okay, let's work through this.
It's like another fault, for instance, is like homosexual desires or something like that. Mm-hmm. This is just an example that comes up a lot with, like, people talk about this kind of love.
The accepting thing, yeah.
Accepting, exactly. It's like, no, having homosexual desires is a fault. And if you love that person, you would tell them that acting on those desires is a sin. Mm-hmm. One, because it is, and you should be, be a witness to the truth. But 2, because if you do believe that and you believe in hell, then you not telling them is just one additional damning of them to hell, right? Like, you're just allowing them to it's like you see them walking down...
You are your brother's keeper, buddy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you see them walking down the road to hell, literally, and you don't tell them to, hey, you should go the other way. You just let them keep walking. It's like, if you loved them, you would stop them from doing that. Yeah. So in this movie, we don't see anyone who actually loves them.
I like that you said... Sorry to interrupt. I like that you said that. What'd you say again? If you love them...
If you love them, you would stop them from doing that?
Do you know what the fairy godmother tells Shrek?
What?
If you love her, you'll let her go.
Yeah, which is not what you would do. Like, that's actually a good point, because that's a very common phrase.
She's the villain, by the way.
She's the villain.
But you hear that and stuff.
It is a very common phrase. I heard it in Pokemon. He lets the Butterfree go in a very emotional scene. Mm. But
the Butterfree should be free.
Yeah, it's an animal, so whatever. but yeah, it's like this statement could be true in some senses, but in another sense, it's like, if you love them, you would do what you could to stop them going to hell.
Yeah, within reason, pearls before swine and all. But yeah. This whole it's such a weird world we live in with the acceptance. I was in 2016 in college. Hillary Clinton was coming to. She was doing like a rally at the college.
Right.
I don't know if you were there or not.
I think I remember.
I was becoming quite the talk of the town at that, because I just started talking to some people about stuff, and they're like, "Wait, this guy's like a Christian conservative. Let's fucking talk to this guy." And this gay guy was there, and he was saying something like, "Well, you obviously think it's wrong to be gay. I'm going to go to hell." And it's like, well, yeah, but hold on a second, like, because he was under the impression that I hated him,
right?
And I said, no. Realize that when there's a lot of kooky Christians out there, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But you realize that, like, a real faithful Christian will tell you that because he loves you. Like, hold on, think back a second. You said that I think you're going to go to hell, and that I hate you for being gay. But if I didn't want you to be gay, then you would go to heaven. So that was like a good thing.
Exactly.
It's a little problem with. Now, a lot of people approach that wrong. You know, you're gonna want to. You do want to approach the whole thing with love. That's something that they struggle with. But yeah, exactly. If you really love them, you're gonna not want them to go to hell.
Exactly. It's a paradox. It's like, you think I hate you, but you also realize that I'm trying to stop you from going to hell. If I hated you, I wouldn't say anything.
Exactly.
I would say, that guy's a homosexual. He deserves hell, and I don't want to get in the way of that. I'm just gonna let him go. You know?
Yeah, really. So the idea that Christians aren't accepting gays is weird. It's a paradoxical thing to say in the first place.
Well, I mean, it's like, it's true. We're not accepting their sin.
Yeah.
But we want them to be accepted into heaven.
Yeah.
So we know that they need to get rid of their sins, because only the sinless enter into heaven. Now, not all of us can die without sin, so there's purgatory and there's, grace.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, you're gonna have to stop being a homosexual to get to heaven.
Yeah.
One way or
another. Stop acting on it.
Well, sure, but you'll also, I imagine you would be, by the time you get to heaven, freed of that temptation.
Oh, well,
you know what I mean?
You're in heaven.
It's not like you're in heaven and you still have the problem.
Like geez.
I don't act on it anymore because I'm in heaven, but no, I don't think so.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so I mean, I really think these movies are really quite immoral.
I think, yeah. Yeah, I think even that little bit of good stuff that I found out that I found in Shrek, after even hearing my own words talking, like yours and mine, talk about these movies, I think I'm going to hell. You know, these
I
are not.
Well, and also think about this to tie our themes together. One of the positive things you saw in Shrek was the approach that Shrek used to get his wife.
Yeah.
But what he did with that was drag his wife down to his level.
Yes.
That's like the big flaw, for instance, of the red pill sort of community, is that they have stumbled upon real facts. Which, if you had read the Bible, you would, like, man is head of the wife. Wife was created as a handmaid for the man. Like they've stumbled on real things, and they're using them to
denigrate women,
defile, deflower,
objectify women. Really.
Yeah, I mean, really, like they are doing absolutely terrible things with that information. And so I think it's kind of the same here. Like, Shrek is using effective methods in some way to drag this woman down to his level. Side note, actually, real quick. Unless you have anything else to say.
No, I'm done. I think I'm ready to never watch these movies again.
Yeah, I just didn't like them just at a basic level too. Yeah. But I
unfortunately do.
Watching them like this, it really got to me, the idea of like it just sort of feeling like it's dragging someone else down to your level. Yeah. And it made me feel really bad watching these movies.
What was your side note?
So first, I think this movie will send you to hell.
Yeah, me too.
You should not
both
watch
of them.
You should not watch this movie, and you certainly should not let your kids watch this. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind that kids' entertainment needs to be better. You have the time, maybe, to watch some shitty movie, and it's not that big of an importance in your life.
You're also a grown-up. You can make the decision like, oh, that was bad.
Exactly. Your kid does not have the same cognitive awareness. Your kid also, this will be a much larger part of their life. do not show your kid a movie like this. And I don't think you should watch this yourself either. I think this is negative to you as well.
I think,
but certainly not your kids.
You also didn't say if you're showing this to your kid takes that as an endorsement.
Oh, absolutely, because the kid, what the kid is shown at an early age is like what they believe is normal. And because you allowed it to be there, they also believe that it's what you endorse. Mm-hmm. So, like, for instance, if you have like a divorced relative who is mean towards your wife, right? Just for an example, that means that your kid is taking away that it's normal to be divorced, and because you're letting this person around your wife, it's okay to be mean to your wife. Or maybe to be mean to wives in general, or just your wife, or whatever, you know what I mean? But like, that's what they're taking away. And it's the same with a movie. Like, it's the same thing where it's like, they see this and they think, this is normal, and my parents are okay with this. So it's morally good also, or at least acceptable. Anything else on that?
No,
yeah, I just had what was my side note?
I'm so interested in your side note. I'm on the...
Oh, I was just going to say, so there's something that's been going around Twitter recently that was somewhat related to this red pill sort of stuff. And I want to mention, some guy on Twitter, this is like actually like a big thing in like Catholic Twitter, was some guy said like, I don't even want to repeat the way he phrased it, but I will just to quote it to be accurate. He said, like, for the love of God, literally. And it's like...
Oh, I've seen this. This pisses me off.
That beginning statement, considering what he says next, is vile. But he says, have sex with your spouse before marriage. Well, not your spouse at that point. I don't know what word he uses. Girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah. And
then confess it later. Just want to make sure everyone is on the same page here. Because that just falls into this kind of red pill mentality. There are some men who will use this Shrek ideology, these Shrek tactics, to get a woman... And then
the Shrek pill.
And then drag them down to his level, such as by having premarital sex with them. And some of them believe that you need to do that because it's true, for instance, that having sex with a woman will make them more attached to you, especially if she's a virgin. But that is not it's like...
That's wrong.
That's wrong. Yeah, I mean, there are things you could murder someone, and there might be good benefits that come out of the murder. Doesn't mean you should murder, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, there could be good benefits from that, but you're committing a mortal sin, so don't do that. But, yeah, just to be clear, what that guy is calling for is a mortal sin. It is a mortal sin to have sex outside of marriage. And not just that, if you go to confession, because he said actually, go to confession each time. Like you're having sex with your to-be wife.
Wow.
Multiple times. I mean, you shouldn't do it once either, but obviously doing the same sin over and over is even worse than doing it once. You should do it multiple times and each time confess that sin. A few priests responded on Twitter and said, if I knew you were doing that, I would not forgive your sins. Mm-hmm. So, first of all, but second of all, that's not how confession works. You have to be sorry for your sin and make the real, what's the word for it?
Contrition.
You have to really make the effort. Like you decide, I am not going to sin anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that works, like that. I mean, it works, but like, it doesn't mean that it's not a, how do you phrase this?
It's not a guarantee. You're not going to,
Yeah. So you have to have intention.
God knows
intention. That's
intention. Thank you.
You have to have that's the word I was trying to fucking find. You have to have the intention not to sin anymore. Now, if you sin later, that doesn't mean you didn't have that intention. It just means you fucked up. But if you confess the sin of having premarital sex with the intention of then going and doing it again, your sin has not been forgiven. You have only committed another sin, which you will also have to confess, or else you will go to hell. So, like, to be clear, just because that's kind of tangentially related, and it was going around a lot recently.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, we both saw it separately. Didn't talk about it. So, do not have premarital sex. It's a mortal sin. And realize that confession does not work if you are not actually sorry for your sins and going to change what you're doing.
Where did these people come from? Was this one of those guys who had the gall to say, as a practicing Catholic?
Well, he said for the love of God.
Yeah, which is, for the love of God, sin.
For the love of God, don't listen to God.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous. No, it's
we should find that guy.
I mean, it's pretty bad. I don't know anything about the guy in particular. I just saw his name. But that is evil. So don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't be like Shrek.
Don't be like Shrek.
Don't drag a woman down to your level.
Be like Shrek in certain ways, but don't be like Shrek.
You can use Shrek-like tactics to do good things.
Yes.
Right? Like you should, like legitimately, like I said before, you should want to elevate yourself for the person you're with, and they should want to do the same with you. You should both be inspiring to each other, not a downward force to each other.
Yeah.
You should both want to make each other saints. Mm-hmm. That's part of the point of a marriage.
Yeah.
In fact, it's one of the most important.
One of the big things, yeah.
It's procreation and that.
Like and subscribe. Share the podcast.
Yeah, we really appreciate it if you would do that.
Patreon.com/willitsendmetohell. PayPal.me/willitsendmetohell. willitsendmetohell@gmail.com.
To send emails.
Just for your emails, yes. You can't
send money through that.
Can't send money through that. Not yet. Google will do that pretty soon, I'm sure.
Probably.
Right out of the bank account. It's like, well, I didn't even put my bank account number in there. How'd they do that? Anything else you have to say? Anything else you want to plug? You got the stream, face reveal. That's fun.
Yeah, if you want to watch my streams, it's, as I said before, twitch.tv/YOMANVIDYA. But no, I think that's all I have to say.
That's all I got. Yeah, please share the podcast around.
So next episode is Gattaca.
Gattaca.
Which I can guarantee you I will feel much better about than Shrek.
I'm going to watch Gattaca, and I'm going to lift twice as much as I did before.
Oh, fuck, dude. I love Gattaca.
All right, well, we'll see you next time.
All right. God bless. Bye.